Hello everybody, and welcome to another video of Green Square Talks Battlebots here. And I am here with a second prediction podcast over the second episode of Battlebots 2021. And so yeah, my last week my predictions were pretty solid as I went 5-3. Congrats if you got more than I did. No judgment if you got the same or less, even if you got zero and stuff. Because lots of those matchups were so hard to call and stuff. So I'm pretty happy with how well I did prediction wise, just knowing that always the first few episodes are typically the hardest to call. And so, yeah. So back here with episode 2, several more robots make their very first appearance in Battlebots 2021 in this episode, and yeah, several big names here. I was definitely eyeing that first matchup, and the last three on there was all four of those I think are gonna be great matchups. Same thing with some hype for some newcomers here because we got a few newcomers that appear in this fight card, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So yeah, once again, this is another prediction podcast. Basically, the plan is I'm gonna go through each one of these fights one by one, talk about both who I think will win this fight, what I think the outcome will be like, and more. So yeah, be sure to reply down below with what your predictions are for this episode, as I imagine you're probably gonna disagree with at least one of my picks, because I will alarm you that I do have a few interesting takes coming, a few of them more interesting than others. And yeah, so yeah, before I get started, I got a Shatter scarf recently and it arrived a couple of days ago, and sure enough, they happen to be on this fight card, so I thought, why not wear it for this podcast? And I'm probably gonna be wearing it for the episode review too. Shout out to Adam Wrigley and all of Bots FC for sending it. Definitely glad I bought this thing from the definitely glad I bought this thing off the store. Is I love it and stuff, and super comfortable, and should be nice for when I go back to college. So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and begin this and go to the first matchup of the fight card, where we got Yeti and Mad Catter. And so, first thing I want to say is I'm so excited to see Yeti back because yeah, like I believe my co-hosts were. I was a little disappointed that Yeti announced that they were retiring Yeti for the moment. But then we discovered partway through recording, I believe the Robot Wars Fantasy League, that Yeti was going to be returning with Christian Carlberg for this upcoming season, and that threw us for a loop, and in a good way too, because we get to see Yeti back, and it's always super exciting to see stuff like that. They are taking on Mad Catter, who was a force to be reckoned with last season, both in the main competition and bounty hunters. And yeah. So in terms of configuration, because we know Mad Catter does have a few weapon configurations for this season, similar to what they had for last season, I bet they're gonna go with the vertical spinner for this one, just because drum spinners are not a big fan of vertical spinners and stuff. Just check out Death Roll's run from 2019, where they took on Yeti and Minotaur and won both of those matchups. Probably mostly because like drum spinners aren't fan of vertical spinners, so yeah, but yeah, I think this will be an excellent fight because Greg Gibson and Calvin, and I believe is the name of Mad Catter's driver, if I remember right. Both of them are super aggressive drivers, so I imagine this is going to be a big old driving match, and yeah, is it's going to be a heck of a fight, is all I'm going to say. So, in terms of my prediction, while I do feel Mad Catter will have the design advantage, I'm actually gonna pick Yeti for this one. Like, I got some confidence in Yeti that I think they got the design that I think they got the design looking really good and stuff. Like, I'm not sure how well it'll actually perform just because we haven't seen it in the arena yet. Well, we will this upcoming Thursday, but yeah, so I'm planning to predict Yeti for this one. I got confidence in that drum spinner that could do the damage needed to take out Mad Catter, but this is probably one of my less confident picks on here. Like I just first want to say that I'm not confident on any of these picks, but yeah. I'm planning to pick Yeti for this one, but I would not be surprised if it goes the other way and goes to Mad Catter. So, all right. So next up, we got the first newcomer on this fight card. We got Defender, who is taking on Ribbot, and yeah, I think it's already revealed because we've seen from the fight trailer from the first episode that Ribbot is going to. I believe Ribbot's using the Undercutter for this one, if I recall right. But I might need to recheck that out just to be sure and stuff, or check out Ribbot's social media because they typically post what their game plan was right before the fight and what they were going for and stuff. Like, yeah, they'd at least announce what their weapon configuration was going to be for that fight before it happened, and then would do a post thing right after just to share like what all happened. But I want to talk about Defender here because this design looks really interesting. The first thing I want to say is this robot is run by Jason Vasquez, the brother of Nye Vasquez, and yeah, what I've always seen, but what I've always heard between Whiplash and Defender, well, between Maddie and Jason Vasquez, I mean, is both of them are really good drivers, but then Maddie Vasquez is just a wee bit better than Jason and stuff. That could make this thing really interesting and makes this matchup a little bit tricky to call because Jason Vasquez is apparently is all based off of what I've heard, Jason Vasquez is also a really good driver, and that could definitely give Ribbot a lot of trouble in a matchup like this because I imagine Defender's strategy is probably going to be to box rush Ribbot and use that clamper and grab a hold of Ribbot and control them for the fight and stuff, which I imagine this could give Ribbot quite a bit of trouble and stuff. So yeah. I feel like, in terms of my prediction, I'm planning to go Ribbot for this one. But I think this battle is going to go straight to the judges. Like, I think this is going to go last a full 3 minutes and stuff. But I think this will be close because I think in terms of the judging criteria, there's no doubt Ribbot's going to edge in damage and stuff, because Battlebots favors spinners over grapplers and stuff, like Defender and stuff. But I think Defender is going to edge it out in control and aggression, but I'm predicting it's going to not quite be enough. But what I'm predicting out of this fight is I think this is going to be a fairly even fight and stuff. Like, I think Ribbot's going to have some moments. I think Defender's going to have some moments. I think it'll be a close fight between these two. But either way, though, this is going to be a great match. I can't wait to see it. All right, we got the next one, and I gotta be honest, this is probably the hardest one. This fight, I probably had the hardest one picking so far, and some of you might think that's a little unusual, but Hijinks and Mammoth is next. So we've already seen pictures from Hijinks and Mammoth. Mammoth looks like they're coming out with a defensive lifter for this one, which wouldn't surprise me because Hijinks does have a pretty nasty undercutter on there, but here's the thing, though. Hijinks' strategy is probably going to be to try to break apart the structure of Mammoth, similar to what Hypershock did last season. Because, like, one swipe from that undercutter right on one of those pipes there, and Mammoth will collapse and stuff. Just check out the Hypershock fight, and even check out their fight with Smee too, just to see what I mean by that and stuff. But here's the thing, though. Like, Smee had a very hard time being able to get shot opportunities like that on Mammoth, and it took a while for Smee to knock out Mammoth. And I predict that's probably going to be the same for Hijinks, because here's the thing. It's mostly because I think undercutters will tip. I feel like undercutters are going to have a really hard time getting that perfect shot on such a difficult to fight robot like Mammoth. And yeah, and Mammoth could definitely get in there with that lifter pretty easily. So now, in terms of my prediction, like, this is kind of like Tombstone Captain Shredder, where I've been going back and forth on that prediction. Like, yeah, my gut's telling me to pick Mammoth for this one, but my mind and my prediction are going with Hijinks for this one. Because I feel like Hijinks is going to eventually get that perfect shot they need to destroy the structure of Mammoth, but if Mammoth swallows up Hijinks very early in this one, they could easily control this match. they could easily get the control, or if Hijinks starts having drive issues similar to what they had in the Claw Viper fight, that would also get Mammoth the victory. This one could definitely go either way. I think this one would be a lot closer than what a lot of people might imagine. Alright, so yeah, my pick will be Hijinks for that one, but I would not be surprised if it goes to Mammoth once again, because, yeah, yeah, we've seen surprises from Mammoth. Just check out their fights with Huge and Copperhead. Mammoth was full of surprises last season, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more this season, so. Alright, next up we got Kraken and Rotator. And I first want to say, I personally think this is a bad matchup for Kraken, because yeah, I don't think it'd be hard for Rotator to come in with that horizontal spinner in like the upper position and be able to slice the mouth part of Kraken and destroy the Crusher like that and so on. But we've seen clips from this fight, and it looks like Kraken does eventually get a bite on Rotator and stuff, which they got a bite on everyone last season, even Huge, which threw me for a loop, as you would know if you've checked out some of my podcasts from last season and stuff. But yeah, I I I personally think Kraken is going to have a really hard time winning this unless if they break the weapon of Rotator. And if Rotator is just as reliable and durable as they were last season, Kraken's going to have a really hard time breaking that weapon on Rotator. Of course, though, we that could always happen because like this is Rotator's first appearance of this season. Like we don't know how much their strengths and their weaknesses have changed, so who knows what could happen. But my prediction is going to be Rotator for this one. I think Rotator is going to cause a severe amount of damage to Kraken with that horizontal spinner, and yeah, I imagine this. I feel like this is probably going to be the most destructive fight of this video, at least if I took a guess on that one. So, alright, yeah. Alright, so next up, we got Blip versus Rusty. And so Rusty's on my King of Draft team. Unfortunately, though, Rusty will not be coming out with the robot that's in that picture, as you see on the fight card there. And yeah, pretty much what I've heard is that Rusty's new weapon had some issues to it. Like I believe if I remember right, it's a pneumatics powered hammer. I might be wrong about that, but they were struggling to get it to work. So fortunately fortunately they came with last season's design and will be fighting with that for this season. And the per and the proof that the thing that I can prove out of that is that they are using the old Rusty because we've seen a clip from this from one of the trailers, and well, we've seen a clip of them fighting Blip from the trailer and getting flipped, and then we've also seen a clip of them fighting Witch Doctor too, which will happen later in the season, which I think is a big mismatch, but wouldn't surprise me because I believe Dave Eaton typically requests hard opponents and stuff, but you see the last year's version of Rusty in there, so yeah. Alright, and now they're fighting the newcomer I am the most hyped for on this fight card, which is Blip, coming from the team that brought Tantrum last season. Of course, they did bring Tantrum too. It's just, yeah. Basically, Aaron Hill will be running this robot once again, and Tantrum's got a new group, or well, got some other team members running Tantrum for this season, but here's why I'm looking forward to Blip so much. Blip is coming in with a new type of flipper, I believe if I remember right, because they did post a video on that. Check that video out and stuff, because their info is likely to be so much better than mine in here. They're coming in with a kinetic powered flipper, another like high tech and technological little flipper type design, and based off of both that video and the clips we've seen from them in the trailers so far, that flipper has quite a lot of power to it. And we know it's going to flip Rusty at least once and stuff, but Yeah, I think Rusty is definitely a great test for Blip because I think Blip will not have a problem with getting underneath Rusty. But yeah. So as for my prediction, all right. So this is my most hot take out of this. If I get this wrong, uh, pretty much my co-host will probably not let me hear the end of it for the rest of my days. You guys might not let me hear the end of this one in the comments section. I'm pretty sure I'm only 2%. I'm pretty sure I only have like a 1 to 2% chance of getting this fight right. But I am planning on picking my King of Draft pick and picking Rusty for this one. And yeah, I know Pori is probably going no shot, and gonna type that in the comments section or something like that, because I know he and Captain Manting, who appeared on my questionnaire podcast, uh, were talking about that yesterday, and they're probably gonna comment here something like that. But imagine the bragging rights if I get that one right. But okay, so back to this. So pretty much, I think Blip definitely has a design advantage over Rusty. I think Rusty's only shot of winning this one is if Blip breaks down somehow. Like if they lose drive, similar to how Tantrum lost drive in the fight with Valkyrie. I think that's probably gonna be Rusty's only shot because I don't think Rusty's weapon is I don't think Rusty's weapon is capable of getting through Blip's armor and potentially damaging their internals and stuff. So I feel like Rusty's only shot at winning this is going to be if Blip breaks down somehow and due to reliability problems or something like that. But yeah, I am going nasty with this one and yeah, pick Rusty and risking everything here because I guarantee if I get this one wrong, Civilian Arc's probably not gonna let me hear the end of it for the rest of my days and stuff. And I imagine the entire crew that's gonna be on the episode 2 review is not gonna let me hear the end of this prediction and stuff if I get that wrong. But yeah. All right. So next up, we got the dark horse from last season, Tantrum, who is taking on the Queen of Swag. We got Malice. So yeah. And so, kind of like Kraken and Rotator, I think this is a really bad matchup for Malice, mostly because Tantrum is really well designed to take on horizontal spinners and push them around. And sure enough, there is a clip on one of the trailers from this fight that shows Tantrum getting a pretty big hit on Malice in the corner and stuff. But yeah, all right, so yeah, kind of like onto this fight. I feel like Tantrum's strategy, I think there's no doubt on what it's going to be. It's going to be the box rush Malice, because I feel like Malice definitely has the more powerful weapon between the two. But when it comes to push power, Tantrum's going to own Malice on that section. Like, Malice does have a powerful drivetrain, because like we did see them push around robots like Huge, Tracer, and Shatter, even with a busted weapon. Shatter and Tracer are probably the more impressive ones, mostly because those two also specialize in pushing pretty well too. But I think Tantrum's speed and drivetrain as well are just going to give them a lot of trouble in this fight, and I feel like we're going to see a big control battle. But yeah, so here's where my thoughts are at. I I am also taking a risk with this one. I am planning on predicting Malice for this one, and not because I'm a big fan of Malice as well as they're on my King of Draft team, but I feel like Tantrum could eventually get a little too risky, and we could see Malice maybe strike the weapon area with their horizontal spinner. Because like we've seen in past Tantrum fights that weapon area is really vulnerable to horizontal spinners. Because we saw Valkyrie destroy it last season, and then we saw Fusion leave it crooked. And then as well, Bloodsport, who I'll be talking about in not too long, broke their weapon too. And Malice could definitely do the same thing. I think Malice's big hopes of winning this one are going to be to get the kill shot, on Tantrum and probably win this one by knockout because Tantrum's weapon can also do some damage. Like this is not one where the judging criteria like really favors one of the robots and stuff. Like no offense to Defender or up top, but yeah. I think Malice's big hopes of winning this fight are by knockout. This is another, like, this one and the last matchup are my two least confident picks on this. Probably because they are a little bit spicy of a take on both of those. Well, the Rusty and Blip one is extremely spicy. Like, I think that's even spicier than when Pori picked Ultimo Destructo to beat Witch Doctor, which he had good logic for why he did it. Like I'm not going to pick on him for it. Like I know Civilian Arc already has, but yeah. So my pick's going to be Malice for this one. I think it'll be by a knockout, but I would not be surprised if Tantrum takes this one, similar to what we've been seeing out of them. And but okay, so but first I also want to say that I think the shelf is going to get involved in that fight too. That's one thing I also wanted to say but didn't mention until now. Like I feel like this is something where Tantrum's going to take advantage of that new hazard. I'm not calling it the upper deck because of yeah, just check out the first episode review for that based off of some of the stuff that was said like during the I don't remember if it was I believe it would be the Sawblaze and Minotaur fight, right? But I want to call it the shelf, and yeah, I think we're gonna see some shelf action in this one because yeah, I feel like Tangent's big strategy is not just gonna be the box rush, but maybe box Malice into the corners, similar to what Uppercut managed to do to Gigabyte, even though I think that was kind of sloppy driving on John Mladnick's part. No offense to him, but yeah, I personally don't like the shelf being used that way. Like I feel like that gives horizontal spinners such a big disadvantage, but it would be a smart strategy for a robot like Tantrum and so on. And but all right, so now I'm gonna skip down to the YouTube exclusive fight. I'm gonna end it with the main event where we got Sub-Zero versus Shatter, and yeah, like two great robots, glad to see back. Like Shatter made it pretty far last season in the main competition, and then we saw Sub-Zero pull off a few upsets to get to the Witch Doctor bounty. Shout out to Civilian for predicting that Sub-Zero was gonna get there. But yeah, I think this will be a very interesting exclusive fight. Like I think this will like the first thing I want to say is I think this is gonna go the full 3 minutes, mostly because in terms of last season, both robots have proven their durability pretty well. Because Sub-Zero did get knocked out a few times, but they are definitely still built like a tank and stuff. Pretty well armored, and I think they could definitely take hits from Shatter. And then Shatter proved their durability too, because the only robot that knocked them out was Endgame. And well, even though they only took two losses, and one of them was by a judge's decision that was potentially controversial, but yeah, I'm not sure what weapon we'll see from Shatter in this one. I feel if I took a guess, because we know they got that new hammer design, similar to what we see in that picture down there. But then they also have like the same hammer type design that we saw from last season. And personally, I feel like that's what they would go with, but I would not be surprised if it's the other way and stuff. But mostly because like we haven't seen either of them in action. I don't know exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are. Like what types of opponents they would be looking for when uh, choosing which one of those two hammers to go with. But in my opinion here, I'm going to predict Shatter for this one. Like I think Shatter will be able to do more damage with their hammer compared to Sub-Zero with their flipper, and Shatter has proven last season that with the wedgelet configuration, because I feel like they're going to go with wedgelets for this one to try to win the ground game. They do have some pretty low ground game. I'm not sure if it's lower than Sub-Zero's ground game or not, but it's it's definitely a bet. Like it's definitely a bet I'd take, but Shatter's Omni Wheel configuration, Adam Wrigley, I think will help him win the driving game and stuff between these two. I do think we're going to see a flip or two from Sub-Zero, but I think Shatter will get most of the action in, and I think Shatter will win this by a judge's decision. So yeah, my prediction is going to be Shatter by a judge's decision. I think this one, I think we'll see some great moments from Sub-Zero, but I think Shatter will eventually get in some huge hits with that hammer, potentially cause some serious damage, and win the fight that way. So, all right, main event time, and now we got Bloodsport versus Whiplash. All right, so yeah, I guarantee Matty Vasquez is probably cheering for this one because Whiplash has always seemed to be a big fan of horizontal spinners because Matty Vasquez does a substantial job with box rushing because like we did see them take out Son of Waiachi and Texas Twister, Valkyrie, and others, but yeah, Bloodsport's definitely going to be a little bit of a difficult matchup for them, even though this is kind of like what they're specializing here. Like this one is a tricky one to predict, but yeah. So Whiplash, I would not be surprised if Whiplash comes in with the same configuration they used against Valkyrie last season, where they took off the vertical spinner and added some thick armor up front to protect them, to give them a bunch of extra protection from big horizontal spinners like Bloodsport, for example. And yeah, I wouldn't know what weapon Bloodsport would go with. I don't even know exactly what they've got for this season, weapon-wise, if it's the same as last season or not. But I'm not going to try to take a guess on what weapon Bloodsport is going to go with. But either way, though, like, I think Whiplash is going to come out flying at first and stuff just to shut down that horizontal spinner as often as they possibly can for this one. And I think Whiplash is definitely going to dominate the control and aggression game. But here's the thing, though. This is another less confident take on this, but I'm actually planning on predicting Bloodsport for this one, mostly because Bloodsport doesn't look to be too much. Doesn't look like there were too many changes to it. But like I'm guessing a lot of their changes were internally, and then I noticed the wedgelets seem to be like let's see, how do I say this? Attached better than what they were last season. Because like we saw them come out with wedgelets for most of their fights last season, and they would lose them very quickly and stuff. And they look to be better engineered on and stuff, if that makes sense and stuff. But even though I think Whiplash would probably win the ground game between the two, because Whiplash has proven that they are very low to the ground when they try to win the ground game and stuff. Like, just take like the Gruff fight, the Black Dragon fight, a few others and stuff. But yeah, I think damage like Bloodsport's weapon might have had problems with like the motor overheating, which I feel like if they Bloodsport was to make an adjustment, it would probably be something like that. That way they could keep the weapon spinning for longer. But yeah, I feel like Bloodsport's more likely to cause more damage, and while Matt Vasquez is definitely a good driver, like we could see Whiplash vulnerable to damage in a fight like this. Matt Vasquez did a fantastic job at protecting his wheels, and I don't think Bloodsport is going to get there, mostly because of how great Matt Vasquez's driving skills are. But I feel like if Bloodsport if Bloodsport starts causing a massive amount of damage, like the front of Whiplash and stuff, but Bloodsport could very easily take over this if Whiplash is not careful. I am not confident with this pick whatsoever. Like, I think the three least confident picks I'm making on this fight card are the Rusty Blip fight, Tantrum Malice, and Bloodsport Whiplash here. And yeah, all three of those I have very unconfident takes on it. But I think I'm going to predict Bloodsport by a judge's decision for this one. I think this will be very close as well, because like I said, I think Matty Vasquez, I think Matty Vasquez will dominate the control and aggression categories. I think Bloodsport will dominate the damage category, but either way, I think this is going to be a beast of a main event. I think this will be a terrific fight. I can't wait to see this on Thursday. And yeah, so yeah, either way though, I think this is gonna be a close main event. I think Bloodsport. I'm gonna predict Bloodsport, but I would not be surprised if it goes to Whiplash and stuff. Because, like I've said, for the first few fight cards are always the hardest fight cards to predict out of the entire season. Mostly because, like, the robots that are typically in these first few fight cards we're seeing for the first time that season. And I expect that's probably going to be the same thing with the third episode and maybe the fourth one, too. I feel like the fourth one we're probably going to start seeing some robots make their second appearance. But either way, though, like, it's really hard predicting fight cards like these, mostly because we don't know lots of the big strengths and weaknesses of like robots with their new design changes if they returned last season, as well as seeing some newcomers and stuff that we've never seen in action so far. Yeah, this. But either way, though, this should definitely be a fun episode, though, because I feel like we're gonna see quite a few hard fought and close battles, and we did see a lot. We did see a lot of big action like that in the last episode, and that was such a fun episode. And I imagine we're gonna see quite a bit of fun out of this one. So yeah, kind of like to review here. My predictions were Yeti, Ribbot, Hijinks, Rotator, Blip, Malice, Bloodsport, and Shatter here. All of these I'm not really confident with. Like, very few of these I'm confident with, especially my really spicy takes like Rusty and Blip and the two matchups below it. Which, yeah, this is. I imagine I'm gonna get quite a bit. I imagine I'm gonna get quite a bit of stuff in the comments section if something like that happens. People asking what the heck I'm thinking by stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, I'll thank you for watching this video. Be sure to reply down below with what your predictions are, because I imagine you probably disagree with at least one of my predictions, and I'm thinking of exactly which one you're probably gonna disagree with. But yeah, be sure to reply down below with what your predictions are for this fight card, as I'd love to hear it. I completely respect what you have down there, even if you disagree with my predictions. But yeah, this will definitely be a fun episode, and I will hopefully see you for the episode review over this fight card. So yeah, see you then.